May I have your attention, please?
Welcome to Real Gaijin, unveiling the real Japan, an American expat's inside look. Now it's time for another story from the Read My Lips series of podcasts. Summarized podcast.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Real Gaijin Ask Me Anything podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kennedy, the author of Real Gaijin. And my goal is to introduce to you interesting foreigners that live in Japan, one person at a time. We've got about 3.7 billion to go. But today we've got a true Renaissance man, Alan Lindskoog. And Alan, first you're going to have to introduce yourself and give us a primer on your name. How do you pronounce your name?
Okay, well, that's a good place to start, and I get to be you get to be the first one I get to correct. So it's Lindskoog, Lindskoog, yeah.
Okay.
So Skoog is umlaut, so it's Swedish. So the umlauts are supposed to be over the O, and so you say Skoog. So Skoog is in Swedish is mori in Japanese, which is forest, and Lind is shortened for linder tree, which is a type of tree that was pretty prominent in Sweden. So.
Oh, wow.
Peoples came over from Sweden to Minnesota, and they changed their name from Swenson because there's too many of them in the phone book or something to Lindskoog. So,
Oh, good. Great. Well, how appropriate. And now you're living in a forest.
and I am living in a forest. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, today, of course, we're very much looking forward to getting a tour of both the outside first and then the inside of your brand new, or I should say not brand new, recently refurbished 100-year-old kominko or traditional inn, which is now an Airbnb. But before we do that, I think a lot of our viewers are very curious to know a little bit more about each one of our interviewees and specifically how you ended up in Japan. But you have a real long history here before getting to Japan. So could you just run through some of the highlights of your career and so forth?
Yeah, I'll give you the very abridged version because it seems like we have a lot to cover here. So I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm the oldest of three brothers. Um, I lived in I was in so there's a bunch of different things that went on, but I've had three careers basically. I was in sales. You'll have to excuse my our dog there. He'll probably be a little bit problematic, I guess.
No
He's not
problem.
normally barking, and then of course during an interview he chooses to bark. Um, so I was yeah I had I was in sales, and then I followed a dream to become an actor at one point, and I did that in Minneapolis for many years, and then I moved to New York City and followed that for a while, and that didn't really pan out as I planned, but it led me into advertising, which I did for many years in New York City, which is where incidentally I kind of got my first little taste of Japan. I was part of a Zen Buddhist meditation group there, and so based on Sotoshu, which is Soto Zen, and so that was my first kind of introduction to Japan. Uh, so that's the career stuff, and then I was also I used to ski jump and cross country ski for many years. Our whole family is really sports people, and then I was a semi-professional bike racer for many years, and
As in
yeah, so that's
bicycle,
kind
right?
of bicycle, yeah, bicycle racing, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, that pretty much is just the shortened version. So, yeah.
Okay, well, wait a minute. I know there's more to it. Well, I guess it's after you got to Japan. So, what was besides the Zen Buddhism instruction, what led you to Japan?
Yeah. Well, so when I first visited with at the time in New York City, we visited New York, visited Japan. I was really, not necessarily I'd say fell in love. Like I fell in love with New York, but Japan was just this otherworldly place. And, and I had this dream when I was a kid because our family was pretty unconventional. We had like these summer vacations where we go to the Canadian Rockies, and my parents would run youth hostels. So they were the custodians for a month. So that was like our vacations in these kind of almost similar to where I live now,
Hmm.
these just kind of pristine places. So all these people from all over the world would come and visit, and I was this kid just listening to all these languages, and it really kind of, I was like, really fascinated me. And I think it's planted the seed that I always wanted to live in a country where I could become fluent and and live somewhere completely outside of the United States. France was my first choice, and that's a longer story, but it ended up being Japan. So I ended up coming here for the first time. I was terrified when I came because I'd studied a little bit of Japanese, but as you know, when you study language, it's psychological too, right? You don't want to make a mistake or you feel foolish. I mean, that was really heightened when I was here because this culture is just so different. And so that was my first kind of venture into it, and then eventually it was love, and I called myself a self-imposed political refugee. I just was time for me to get outside of the country. I really needed to get out of the United States, and I wanted to and fulfill that dream of living in a different country. So,
Wow, you did it. And now
yeah.
along the way, you've been writing quite a bit, right? You're an author of more than one book.
Well, I'm author of one book. That book was, and I always been a writer. Like I call my father, he was a closeted writer. He was really good at writing. Whenever he wrote something, people would comment, but he never really followed through. So it feels like the torch was passed to me because acting didn't pan out. It was like I just didn't have it in me to be that kind of person. But something creativity somewhere existed within me after I got past the sports stuff. And so yeah, so writing started to kind of surface. I mean, I'd always been writing like with papers and things like that, especially when I got my master's degree at Columbia, and to follow through, which is the later part of my story. And so the writing kind of took off, but the book, I wasn't planning on writing a book. That was really more or less a diary, and but it turned into a book. Uh, in a weird serendipitous manner when I had met a friend of mine who was an actor back in the day. He moved to New York City, ended up becoming an editor, and so we reconnected, and he kind of convinced me to turn it into a book. So that was my first book, which is semi-biographical.
Great, great. And we'll leave a link in the bio or the follow-up message to this post
Mm,
later on
good.
as to how to get it. I believe it's available on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon everywhere, Kindle and paperback version. It's 10,000 Lakes to the Rising Sun is what it's called. And yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, that's even more information about how you got here. Now, I know there's one other aspect to what you do here in Japan besides the Airbnb, which we're anxious to learn more about. And that is, I understand you're an adjunct professor at three different Japanese universities.
Yeah, yeah, I can't when I first came here, I really wanted to parlay my advertising, my New York City advertising experience into Japan, and I followed that initially, but my Japanese level wasn't high enough. As when you come in at, like, depending on your age, you come at a certain level of,
Mm,
kind of management, and my level of Japanese wasn't high enough, so that door closed. And I come from a family of teachers, and so I kinda knew in the back of my head that teaching would be one of my things, and so I just didn't know how it would manifest, and it did here. So the first couple of years I was teaching in, a usual journey for most teachers is an ALT, and which was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a great way to get into the system and understand how things are done. But over time, I found my niche was gonna be universities. Like, that was where, that's where for me, that was really such a good fit, and, so I went and got my master's, and then so I've been teaching at the university level for, gosh, might be almost 15 years.
okay,
So,
well, okay, great.
yeah.
Terrific. Okay, well, that is quite a background. I hope everyone followed along in it. Otherwise, there's a whole book on the subject if you want to follow up more. Okay, tell us, where are you? What's that intriguing building behind you?
So, if I could see the glare from the sun,
We
uh,
can see it.
that is, yeah, okay, good. So that is our 100-year-old, as you mentioned, Kominka, which is a Japanese style traditional house, which my wife and I spent the better part of a year and a half searching for one, and then the last 2 years reforming it and getting it into a shape and turning it into the first floor Airbnb, second floor is our living quarters. And, yeah, so and this is where we live, and we're in Yamanashi, which is about 2-hour train ride, depending on if you take the local or the fast train, but roughly 2 hours train ride outside of Tokyo.
Oh, wow, cool. So you must be near Mount Fuji.
So, yeah, if I walk, I mean, we wouldn't have time, but if I walk 100 meters that way, I get a great view of Fuji, or even either way. But the problem is we have a getting a bamboo forest right in front of us, so I can't see it. But yeah, great views pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
It's not a huge problem. It sounds great.
Yeah,
So,
that is not a problem.
all right, well, tell us more. How, I mean, I'm sure other people are aspiring to do this. I mean, you've actually put into action these plans. First of all, how did you even find this property?
Well, yeah, so as you know, this is kind of this is pretty popular, or it's a topic that I think it's a lot of people talk about. There's YouTube videos, there's all kinds of articles. We've been interviewed by, I think we were interviewed by Al Jazeera and maybe
Oh,
one other newspaper, on our kind of journey. And it's not for the faint of heart, I have to say. You have to be patient. We spent the better part of a year and a half trying to searching. We started in Gumma. Reiko is my
okay.
wife's name. She and I started in Goomba, searching for something. So she is an interior designer.
Mm,
She has a background in reforming and DIY. I don't. So, but I was kind of along for the ride initially until we started working on it, and then she was kind of showing me the ropes. And um, so this would be her third house that she's looking for,
cool.
that she had done. So the first two were old Kuminka style homes as well, and she reformed those. But this, she wanted something much more challenging, bigger. And so we were searching Guma. We spent the better part of 6 months, and after we kind of exhausted the resources in Guma, we turned towards Yamanashi, and we hooked up with a real estate agent who was, really friendly, and he showed us this place. And it's too bad I don't have any photos. The work and like just I call it was like an angry house, like it needed life. And it took us 4 times to visit this place before we finally realized this was it. This was going to be the big canvas for her to work on and for me to help out, turn this into something, a vision that over time we kind of, through lots of conversations and experience looking at houses, we really came to kind of put something together that we both envisioned. And
Okay.
this is the result, so yeah.
So, Ellen, by the way, just from a technical point of view, was the home an akiya or was it
Yes,
empty when you got
yes.
there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so it was an akiya bank. It was on the akiya, it was an akiya home.
Okay.
Um, yeah, for sure. We looked at a bunch of those. We looked at a number of those, varying in prices, and, a lot of those are pretty dilapidated. Some of them were nice, but they just didn't fit our kind of vision as we started seeing more and more homes. But yeah, this was an akiya home.
So the one that you picked, though, I mean, if, for example, trees were not growing inside at the point.
No,
It,
trees weren't inside, but they were certainly on their way in. It was pretty rough. Yeah.
okay, great. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. So the process of buying it, you had to, I mean, how hard was that to get all the paperwork done?
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, this could be a whole other interview, but, it was tough. Like, I mean, it was like we had so many obstacles along the way, it was crazy. Like, I wanted to pay for it. I wanted to get I was gonna do a loan and get the money, but even though it was cheap, and, but if for some reason they turned me down. I don't know if it was a foreigner, I'm not quite sure. It was a local bank, but so that may have something to do with it, I don't know. But in the end, we ended up paying cash, which recommend for everybody, because banks are pretty. I think part of it too is because it's an Akia and it's high risk. I think unless there was a lot of money in the bank for me to cover things, I think that's the other reason why they turned me down. So we ended up paying cash, which I highly recommend for anybody who ends up looking for a home like this, to pay cash. And part of it is it's not expensive. It's not that expensive. I mean, I won't give you the exact price, but it's well under $100,000.
Okay, yeah, we
So
don't need to go into the details.
yeah,
Okay, good.
but yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, okay, you finally got the paperwork done. Then what did you do?
Well, so she and I were not married at this point. So we've been previous married. Both of us are divorced. So we were living in two different places, and that was initially the impetus because we were heading in that direction in our relationship. We wanted a place together, you know, and so She was in Zushi, and that's where her Kominka that was her second project that she worked on. I was living in Tokyo. On weekends, we would meet in Hachioji, which is not far outside, outside of it's Tokyo, and we'd hop on the Azusa, which is the fast train here, and to Yamanashi together, and then we would spend 2 or 3 days a week, weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, like reforming this place, ripping out all the curtains and repainting and everything. This place had no running water. We had no toilet. We had no car. We had no, we had, I think maybe we had electricity, but it was that wattage. So it would always blowing, we'd be always be blowing fuses. So literally there was nothing, and the furniture, we had nothing other than like what we asked the seller to leave for us. Because one of our philosophies is upcycling. So taking old things and turning it into useful pieces and I'll show you some of that when we get a tour. But we literally for months were sleeping on a faux leather foam padding duct taped together, and then we'd throw a sheet over it. Like literally, that was it. We'd walk 2 kilometers to the bathroom. Yeah, we would, I kid you not, this is not like some writer's embellishment. Like we would bring just a handful of food. We cooked on one of those little camp burners because we didn't have gas. Like, I mean, she's a brilliant cook, so she could make a meal out of it, like in any situation, which is phenomenal. We did that for months, months, and then our neighbor got to know us, and the people around us got to know us, and so, like, our neighbor felt sorry for us. He's like, "Oh, man, you're walking to," he's Japanese, and he's like, "Come, use our toilet anytime. Oh, use our car." It's like, it really was like,
How generous.
yeah, we were I mean, I will say, there's been stories where, like, 'cause it's like, I'm a foreigner, she's from Tokyo, Japanese woman with a foreigner. I mean, could be the making of somewhat of a nightmare situation if the small village is closed-minded. But this place was incredibly welcoming. We were really, really fortunate.
Terrific, terrific.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think our viewers are probably anxious to start taking a look around, if you don't mind.
Mm. So I think we talked about this. I'm gonna just give this a shot, but let me just see if uh,
The sound is good. I see.
yeah, but I want to see if does the camera flip? That's the question. Let me just see. I don't think it does. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk down to the um on our walkway, and then I'll
Okay.
turn around and kind of give you kind of a now it's interesting. I've done tours with my family like this, but this is the first one I've done, but I always preface it that it's like it's really it's you get a sense of it, but the reality being here is really you really do get a sense of like I mean, you get a good feel for what this place is like. It's really nice. All right, here we go. Yeah.
The sound is
Sorry.
good. We can see. Oh, yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
Ah, it's big. Ooh.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's big. So if you look at this as tiered land, all this was overgrown, higher, taller than you and I. Like just, I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, yeah.
So you had
So
a bit of shading to get going, begin.
yeah, no, I literally, yeah, yeah. I spent, so besides the painting and what we did inside, I spent hours and hours and hours just getting rid of everything. And so I've incorporated, growing up, we always had grass in our front yard. So I've been bringing grass or planting grass in here. So it like looks like my front lawn in Minneapolis.
Okay, that's good. Although the ikigaki, or the stone wall, that
Yeah.
looks like it's been there for centuries.
Yeah, yeah, it's been there a long time. And then we're kind of, we like to cater to cyclists, so we put up a little, this is YMH Jamaica Airbnb, which incidentally, that's our Instagram __ YMH _ Kaminka _ Airbnb if you want to check that out and follow our journey. And that's also on Airbnb if you search, if you want to, somebody wants to book some time here, which by the way,
Yeah,
the invitation still stands there, Mark.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I will. Well, I put that in the invitation, but I'll put that in the follow-up video too. The links
Sure.
to the actual Airbnb site. Okay,
Yeah.
so is this your neighbor that we're looking at there with the yellow on
So
the
this
side?
was our yeah. So there's a little backstory. So this is our kind neighbor who let us use his toilet and his car. So these are twin homes. So that was owned by so the Kobayashis are their names. They're pretty prominent in this small farming village. So this area is called Anayama. It's a very small village, mostly farmers. So this house was owned by a dentist, and our house was owned by the doctor. They were brothers, and both of these were summer homes.
Ah, do they actually practice medicine at both houses in the summer, or just
Well,
a
nope,
retreat?
nope. This was just a retreat from. They lived in the bigger town of Kofu, so they would come here,
Oh, yeah.
and for the summers. So, but this house was, like you said, akiya, so it means it was abandoned. It was nobody lived in it for 10 years.
Ooh,
Prior to that, there was an older woman who lived alone here, who incidentally her name was the same name as my wife's, which is kind of like ooh, Reiko. So
it's meant to be. Very good.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
So let me just turn around quick. Oh, go ahead.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, of course, the weather's great today, and it's now May. But I mean, you're in Yamanashi, so do you get a lot of snow?
We do get snow. We had like four, I think we had four snowstorms this year, but they don't really last. We're a little bit lower altitude, but if you go up the road 20, 30 minutes, you start to hit
Ooh,
snow that
yeah.
stays. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of turn this around and give you a little view. This is our deck that we've built to kind of
Oh,
take in the view. Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So it's very nice.
So do you get some cyclists that cycle all the way up there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I've had
cool.
friends and people that yeah, people have come by. Yep.
That's great. Well, as you know, I'm a fellow cyclist. That looks like a great spot.
Yeah,
So,
no kidding.
this is a former medical center retreat, right?
Yeah, yes, pretty much exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is a
All
very
right.
traditional game, kind of looks like.
Yeah, let me open the door up here. Am I moving okay speed wise? Is
Yeah,
this
yeah, it's fun.
okay?
Ooh,
Okay, good. So yeah, here's our
mm,
traditional Genkan that we've turned into a little we've added our own little touches. So as you'll probably notice, so we don't really follow we haven't really followed the traditional way of reforming Genkan, I mean komenchas. We've just added our own touches.
oh,
So
that's neat. So it's kind of like a fusion style, then.
yeah, exactly, exactly. We wanted
Cool.
our own style, but then yeah, but we tried to maintain kind of somewhat the integrity of the feel of the place. So this is the living room.
Nice.
Yeah.
But so you still have shoji to divide up the rooms?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first floor. This is where our guests stay. They can hold up to 6 people.
Ooh, a lot.
Four beds, two futons.
Oh, I see. So an option. Great. 6 people, that's enough for a big family. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah. So,
So mm,
this is the bedroom 1 bedroom?
yeah, this is one of the bedrooms. Here's another. I don't know what the lighting might look like here, but it's a
It's
little
fine, but
dark. But
that's
yeah.
okay.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Good. So this is what futon would be if we choose that. But then the other bedrooms here.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of space.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a big house. It's really a big house.
Cool.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
view, lots of sunlight. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Lots of light. Um, yeah, so again, when the reforming, what we did, all this stuff was painted. A lot of the stuff we asked some of the stuff we asked the seller to leave, and then we kind of reformed it, refurbished it, and turned it into things that we wanted to use. I'll show you some of that in a second, but here's our typical Engawa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Um, yeah, again, it's like it's hard to, it's hard to gauge, if you had seen this place before. It's just this looks nothing like. I mean, we found a really wonderful contractor who just enjoys working with us, and he's just really been accommodating to our ideas. and what we want.
So I was
But
going to ask about that. So your wife, Reiko-san, is an interior designer. So did she give your contractor just an oral explanation of what you wanted, or did you have to put everything in writing?
both combinate. I'd say combination. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, both.
And then this whole process took about, you said a year?
I would say close to 2 years
Oh,
fully
oh,
finished. I mean,
whoa.
we've been living in it for a long time, but yeah. So this is the dining room.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then as an Airbnb, are you providing breakfast to your guests?
Yes. So this whole first floor is for our guests, and then they get
Whoa,
breakfasts in the morning. Yeah.
great. What do you make them for breakfast?
I think we have a we so we try to everything's farm to table. So we source everything from our local farmers, and then we have a bread shop that's up the road that's they're really great. So we always buy the bread up there, and they get bread, vegetables, eggs, and ham. So not your
Okay.
traditional Japanese meal, but yeah, this
Whoa,
is the kitchen.
that's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. Reiko
So then
designed this whole thing.
that is terrific. And your guests then, do they cook for themselves at
Yeah.
lunchtime or at dinner?
Yeah, so they have a whole access to the kitchen themselves. Let me just highlight. So this is this desk here. So this was left by the guest, by the owner and
Mm,
the seller, and we just basically refurbished it, and then she just designed the kitchen off of this.
that's
Um,
great.
yeah, and then these are like glass. This here, these were glass showcases. So there's glass on the other side, but we ended up turning it into storage space for um, food and dishes. So this,
That's
those
terrific.
showcases you'd see for like in makeup, like in department
Yeah.
stores and stuff. These were, I don't know why, but these were on the second floor. So we just decided to keep them and turn them into storage. So yeah, that's the idea of what a lot of our upcycling. That's part of our philosophy too, is to
Mm,
upcycle as much as possible. So
that is great.
yeah,
Wow,
let
this
me,
is very spacious. Plenty of
yeah,
space to eat.
a lot of space and the views are really, it's nice
Mm,
views from, you can kind of get a sense just in the windows.
looking down the hill. Yes, it's a great
Yeah,
view.
yeah,
I imagine
yeah,
you could probably hear lots of birds in the background at this
yeah.
time of the year.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a great. This is like, well, as you probably know too. This is a great time of year. This is probably one of the best times of year here in Japan is around Golden
Yeah.
Week. But yeah,
May and autumn, late autumn would probably be fantastic.
yeah.
By the way, what if you're coming from, let's say, Tokyo, the nearest station to where you are, let's assume you come by train, how would a guest get to your inn from the station?
So we'll pick them up, but so so from Tokyo, which is really nice. There's the Azusa Kaiji, which is about a from Shinjuku to Kofu, which is a large station, a city station. It's about an hour and a half, and then the local train is 4 stops from there, so it's another 20 minutes. So maybe between an hour and a half and 2 hours, and then we pick our guests up at the station in our car. So
I
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah,
Terrific. And
yeah.
Kofu, that's so you're close to wine country.
Yeah, so Yamanashi, as you know, is known for its wine, yeah. So this area, not so much for the grapes, but further down, yes, for sure. But
Oh,
peaches are really famous around here. Um, we've so one of the things we wanted to do is search out areas for guests for things to do. We've got hiking, cycling, blueberry picking, cherry picking. We've got a good relationship with a momo farmer, so during momo season, if guests want to stay, we can go. They can go and pick the peaches themselves. Um, we've tried to source some really search out good restaurants. So we've got a lot of recommendations for restaurants and so we've had a great time like searching that out because sometimes, as you know, you go into these restaurants, you have high hopes, and it's like, but when you find a good one, we're very excited. So it's
that's
nice.
great.
Yeah.
So the guests then, if they wanted to go to a restaurant, you get them there somehow, or
So
how
we
do
can
you?
get them there if they want. Yeah, if they want. Otherwise, and if they come by car, they can find their way there too as well. But yeah, yeah.
Great. Cool.
Let me
Are
give
there
me.
some?
Let me.
Yeah,
Yes, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Keep going.
No, you can keep going. I'll ask you. I'll answer the question, and then I'll show you the second floor.
Yeah, I was just curious, there must be some hot springs not too far.
Yeah, there's some onsens in the area, hot springs. Yeah, yeah, a couple of good ones. Unfortunately, there used to be one within walking distance, but
Mm,
this village, and as you know, it might be similar to where you are, but it's the, we're the youngest by 15 years, and I'm 60, and I'm 60,
oh,
right? And
yeah.
Reagan's 56. So yeah, so there's our neighbors, our kind neighbor next door. He's in 77. The people on the other side of us, they're in their 80s. I bring this up because like that's the reality of what's happening in these villages. And, but there was an onsen, hot springs within walking distance here, was great, but they got too old and couldn't handle it. Like, it
Oh,
was
no.
just too much. Yeah, so it's there just basically abandoned.
Alan, I'm
Yeah.
feeling business expansion coming along here.
Well, that's another story too. We actually are gonna expand. We have a bunch of ideas. We're in the process of, I can't really share it yet, but we're in the process of
Great. Very
turn
good.
yeah. So, anyway, let me, hold on, let me do this. This is a little more dramatic. So, this is the 2nd floor. This is our living quarters.
Oh,
This was, I had a vision when I saw this because having lived in New York City, uh, and I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but like a Soho warehouse apartment kind of place, like a big open space. So I had this vision, and so this was, what we turned, we kinda had a this is our
whoa,
yeah,
open floor plan.
yeah. So, exactly.
Whoa, that is spacious for Japan. Wow, that is
Yeah,
like unheard of. Oh, I saw.
yeah.
So you took all of the shoji, the suma out. Oh, that's
Everything
great.
out, everything we took everything out and just kept it wide open yeah,
Terrific.
yeah, yeah. So, we just use, furniture to kind of block off kind of cordon
Yeah,
off the area. So this is sitting and over there
nice.
writing, and we have a kitchen over here because when guests are here, we had some guests that left yesterday, so we have to live up here, and so we have a kitchen and everything. We do everything we need to do up here when the guests are in town. Um, these were left,
Hmm,
these kind of
nice.
closets, and what we did is, and this is kind of a vision that Reiko had, but we built a bathroom around those closets and turned this. There was no bathroom or anything in here, and so she came up with the idea and designed the bathroom around these kind of, I forget, like, what do they call them in Japanese?
Tana. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
very creative. Reiko-san really has a lot of interesting ideas. Plus, you
yeah.
never see this in Japan. This is great.
No. Yeah. Yeah. And, even the walls, like, she chose the paint, the color of the walls, and which goes really nice with, we stained all the wood, and
Wow,
again,
the
you can
view.
see from the 2nd floor, I mean,
Mm.
just the views are really nice with lots of window space.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Oh, good property.
yeah,
So,
nice piece.
how many people live in this little village?
Oh, probably 300?
Oh, so it's a hamlet. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how were so your neighbors, sounds like warmed up to you pretty quickly, but how has the village been in terms of welcoming you and also the whole concept of an Airbnb?
No problems with the Airbnb. We had to make an announcement. I'm going down the stairs. It looks bumpy. We had to make an announcement, to the community during one of the gatherings, monthly meetings. And they were, eh, honestly, people afterwards came up to Reiko and said, "Oh, if you want, we can help you out with food." And they offered, yeah. So somebody was like offering, "Oh yeah, we could put you in touch with the Momo farm." Or people, they were really welcoming. I think they really appreciate the trying to keep this place revitalize this place in our way. They were really, really amenable to the
That's
idea.
great. That's terrific. By the way, we have a little bit of not a consistence there. That's probably better for the internet connection. Good.
Okay.
And yes, have a swig. Thank you for the
Yeah.
tour.
I need a
That's
I need a
terrific.
swig, yeah. But just to finish out the question though,
Yeah.
so this is planting season, and harvesting's coming. I mean, I mean, people show up, the farmers show up with just hands full, tons of vegetables. They get bring because they have so much that they end up coming over often and just giving us handfuls. So I took up farming 2 years ago. Yeah, I
Do you
overdid
to
it.
the advertising?
Yeah, I know. I never would have. If somebody would have said like, you're going to be in a village farming, I'd be like, you're crazy. So, but so I took up farming about 2 years ago, just because I wanted to give it a try, and I overextended myself and planted way too many things. But I was really successful at potatoes, so I'm now just focusing on potatoes. So, yeah.
That's good to know. So, no, you're not gonna have a potato famine, huh? Okay.
No, I get to refeed the Irish maybe because I planted 300 this year, and I don't know how many you get 5 or 6 potatoes out of. I know, so
Whoa!
we're good to go. Yeah,
Alright, that's great, great free french fries. And by the way, do you have a
yeah. I'll
name?
send some your way, by the way.
Do you have a name for your inn?
So it's YMH Kaminka YMH. So YMH, by the way, is short for Yamanashi Mountain Home. So we
Uh,
just shortened it to YMH. So it's Yamanashi Mountain Home. So YMH Kaminka Airbnb is the name of our
okay.
place. So
We'll put that link in the follow-up note. Also, I'm
yeah.
curious, so Airbnb as a concept in the areas, are you the first one?
No, in fact, we did some searching before just to kind of to see what was out there, and there's one about 10-minute walk from here, but it's not
Oh,
the same. It's just a small house. There's another one not far from here, but again, that was a big piece of property. Like you're looking at like 20 or 30 people or something. It's like
oh,
yeah.
oh,
So I think yeah. So anyway, we kind of fill this interesting niche, which is an old house, spacious, So yeah.
yeah.
But otherwise, It's not really. It's not that popular. In fact, when we were getting our license, they had been getting so many requests, but they were still themselves trying to sort out the concept of Airbnb out here. So
Oh,
yeah.
I like that. Okay. Hey, by the way, I'm not real familiar with all this, but as a proprietor of an Airbnb, you are only able to have the property occupied like 180 days per year or something like that?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so we're not heavily marketing. This isn't like a necessary like we don't need per se the revenue stream in a way. Like we're just going to let it unfold organically because this is.
Mhm.
I started an English school here too as well. I teach universities in Tokyo 3 days a week, but I also started a local kind of English school for the kids in the community. So
Oh,
elementary. So I got to go full circle and back to my roots when I first started teaching here in Japan. I was teaching elementary kids, so I was a little hesitant, but I've really started enjoying it. So I'm charging. I don't charge a lot of money for them. It's not too much. It's just a way to give back to the community, and so they've been literally would are showing up with their mothers like, I would like to study with you. Is that okay? Like they're just coming, and it's like great. And we kind of are of the mind of. I mean, we'll do some marketing in the future, but we're kind of the mind of letting things spread word of mouth and just kind of in an organic way, which is
cool.
probably the opposite of what everybody does these days.
Um,
And so, or most people. So, but yeah, that kind of ties in with who we are and our philosophy, how we do things.
Yeah, that sounds good though. And you're learning as you go, I imagine. So are most of
Yep.
your clients so far, I mean, are they couples or families or a little bit of both? Or
Well, we started out with friends. So it was interesting. We started out with friends because we wanted to just gauge their reaction and,
Mhm.
figure out the process and everything. And we across the board, they loved the place. Everybody loved it. It's just the feel of it. Everything is just really great. We originally were going to provide meals, dinners. So my friends love the meals because Reiko's an incredible cook, but that got to be too much. So it's just breakfast. But the people that come now are kind of a mix. Like the other day, the guests that left yesterday, they were a couple. Now, they're gonna do some hiking or something in the area. So yeah, it's a mix. Japanese so far, but all of my friends it was a mix of Japanese and English, foreigners rather, and,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's great. And do most of them stay for a night or some for a weekend? Or?
The friends, when they came, they would spend, like, a weekend, but most of the guests, they come for the night. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is exciting. So, I mean, it sounds like you're very satisfied with the progress so far. I mean, what's been your biggest takeaway from this whole process of opening an Airbnb?
Patience. Patience, yeah, no, patience and, you just have to adjust your attitude to things, you know? I Reiko's had to do the bulk of the paperwork, and anytime you're dealing with the government, it doesn't matter if it's a Japanese government or anywhere, they have their kind of bureaucratic red tape and the way of doing things. And so you just have to kind of go with the flow and be patient about it and just know that, it's just how things are done, because otherwise it just makes no sense to to get yourself all caught up in that. And then the other thing I would say too, and this is more of a caution to people, you know, uh, we people really get caught up in the romance of buying a kominka.
Mhm.
They see the romance, they see this and go, "Oh," they have this vision, which is there's nothing wrong with the vision, but that doesn't always match the reality, you know? And so people end up buying things like we have a guy, and it's not just foreigners, but it's also Japanese. We have a guy over here, we call him Tokyo Guy, and he bought a Kaminka, and it's just incredibly dilapidated. And it's in the span of what it took us for 2 years to get this into shape, that guy's got another 20 years left before anything gets done. Like, unless you really, it's like, and we kind of joke, I'll stop by and say hi to him. Like, so how much longer? Maybe 18 years. Like, juhachi nen ka? So, ganbatte. You know what I mean? It's like, so, and then there's another person. I mean, I won't, tell you too many stories. Another person that bought a piece of land that's not far from here, and it's like on the side of a hill, and it's a beautiful view of Minami Alps, which is you don't get a chance, you can't see it from here, from where I am, but and then he's got a great view of Fuji, but it sits along a landslide potential,
Mm.
and there's garbage all over the land.
Ah,
So and there's other people who bought places and they've just given up because it's overwhelming and really the story I told you, and the picture I painted, I mean, it's laborious, it's tedious, and you have to go at it one day at a time, like one day at a time. You can't like just paint it and you're done. And it was hard. It's hard work. It's really hard work.
okay. Well,
So
it shows all the hard work that you and Reiko-san put into it. Show it looks like a wonderful property. I'll look forward to visiting at some point. And
thank you.
it's inspirational, I think, for a lot of people, especially foreigners that are intrigued with Japan and the whole concept. It's good, though, to go in eyes wide open with all the potential downfalls. It looks like
Yeah.
if you put in the effort, though, it's going to reap rewards. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we hope so, but it's already, I mean, the other thing is, like, we were gonna do this anyway, you know what I mean, for us. So, like, we get the benefit of, like, turning it into a business, and we get this beautiful place to live.
Oh,
And by the way,
great.
for the writers out there, because this is Substack, this place is great. It's a writer's house. It's a great place to write. There's so much inspiration. It's quiet. You can sit on the deck. You can sit in your house. I mean, like and I always tell Reiko tells, says, don't forget to tell them like every like little nook and cranny has a little story if you just sit and look
Mm,
at it. Like the way we've designed everything. It's really cool. It's great. So I want to give that pitch to the writers out there if people ever
yeah.
and I
Substack
may wanna
community.
do writers I might wanna
Good.
do a writers workshop someday, but I don't know, we'll see.
Good.
I don't like, I don't know what that would look like, but someday maybe.
Well, first you got to take over the dentist's office next door, right?
Well, between you and me, that's part of the plan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We won't tell anyone.
Yeah, so
That's great. Hey, I'm just curious. I mean, you've had quite a lot of experience in Japan as a foreigner, fellow real gaijin. I'm just curious. I mean, I often get questions from other people from outside Japan that are not Japanese, but interested in living here permanently, or at least for an extended period, not just coming as a tourist. What advice would you give someone that's interested in living and working in Japan?
That's a good question. Study the language.
Mm,
At least have a decent foundation. I find because I have friends who are here who didn't really study, and it really limits your experience. Now
mhm,
you're kind of you kind of paint yourself into kind of somewhat of a corner. And, so learn the language. Um, be prepared. Like if you read my book, I'm going to pitch my book because it's all about the foibles and everything that I did wrong, and all the challenges and everything. There's cultural comparison. It's part memoir. It's part, it's a collection of little narrative essays of like the challenges and everything along the way. You were going to be challenged. Like I always think of it as like, I like to use the metaphor, daikon, right? Daikon are these
yeah.
massive, I use that. It's like I had to uproot my cultural biases, my cultural bias daikon. I had to get that and pull that out
Ah,
because it's like, we bring so much bias when we come into Japan, and if you allow that, if you kind of uproot that and you see how much you get that, that gets in the can possibly get in the way. Everything from like child rearing, like so with my previous wife, we have a child, he's 15 now, but it's like, I had a really challenging time uh with how she was choosing to raise him. And we didn't have that conversation because it didn't like I just thought, oh, this is how everybody does it. And
mm.
we're in Japan. That's not how it's done. That's just a tiny example of lots of different things. But
Okay,
and
great.
it's not all bad or dark or horrible.
Right.
It's just you just realize it's like,
Good.
oh wow, it really colors how we see the world.
Those are two valuable pieces of advice. Terrific. Learn language and rip out the bias or be aware of your own cultural bias.
Tear
That's
out
great.
the daikon.
Tear out the daikon. I like the
Up,
analogy.
up.
Hey, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned your book again because, as you might notice in the notes here, one of the viewers who's still online just purchased your book.
Oh,
Oh,
wow, great.
thank
Thank you for
you.
the purchase. Thank you, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. I really please, thank you so much. It's nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, we have just a little bit of time left, but for everyone that's on the call, if you have any specific questions, if you wouldn't mind just putting them in the chat, and we'll try to do this. For everyone that's not familiar with the live video on Substack, you can only do this through your phone. So the two of us can have to use the phone while being videoed to look through the notes. So it's not real easy to do. Okay. But in any case, some very interesting comments on here already, very positive. I think you've shared the backstory here about how you got into the Airbnb business, and then the whole process of refurbishing, finding the inn first, then refurbishing it. That's something that you don't see every day. So
Yeah.
that's terrific.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So if there are any questions, please feel free to put them in here. Oh, somebody just lost sound. I hope you got the sound back. Yeah, we lost you a couple of points, but you're back, so no problem. Very good.
My sound?
Yeah, your sound, but it's okay. We've
Okay,
got it.
good.
We've got
Okay,
it back. Good.
good. Okay, good,
Good.
good.
And then, so you're going to be operating year round?
Well, that's kind of the beauty. So there's the other, the beauty of running an Airbnb is you can block out the dates you don't want to have people come, right?
Mm.
So I think we're gonna block out the winter months are not, this just not a good time to come. And August, as you know, is really not, it's not really pleasant here. It gets really, really warm. And I'm a university teacher. I get very long vacations in the summer and the winter. So
Ah,
that was the other incentive for to getting a master's and following the route of university teaching, which I do, I legitimately love. I still love teaching, by the way, after all these years. I think part of it's because it's my third career. I think there's
mm,
teachers who've been teachers lifelong, and I know them, and there's a little bit of a burnout you can see in their kind of attitude and stuff. But I still love teaching, which I'm really grateful for. So yeah,
good.
so we're gonna have part time. We'll have blackout time, and I think we're gonna get out of here in the winter. It's pretty. We d- it's this is so Reiko calls this the house is Heidi Hodai. You know what that means? Heidi Hodai. It's great play on words. Heidi Hodai is because there's so many windows in here. You can enter anywhere. It's like as enter anywhere as much as you'd like. Me Heidi Hodai, like Tabe
I
Hodai,
see.
Nomi
I
Hodai.
see.
So anyway,
Okay.
it's 100 years old, so it gets really cold during the winter. Gaps are everywhere. So we recently put in a big, massive air conditioning and heater for the first time this year, but we've been using this kind of jet-sized kerosene heater to keep us
Okay.
warm. Well, we block off all those rooms you saw on the first floor, so our light is in the dining room, living room, and kitchen, and that is it.
Okay. You convinced me, I think. So spring and autumn are the best times to visit.
By far, by far. Yeah,
Okay. So this is the high season, essentially.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. Okay, good. So let's check to see any questions. No, we don't seem to have any questions. All right. Well, you've been telling everybody what it's about. Hey, I know you like to travel. I always like to ask visitors or guests on this program, what are some hidden gems besides, of course, where you're standing right now that you would recommend to visitors to Japan that they might not find in a guidebook or on the internet?
Um, that's a good question. Well, I mean, it goes back to like what I said before. Like we've tried to have relationships, kind of forge relationships with farmers and locals.
Hmm.
So you know, if you go, as you know, if you go to like any grocery store, supermarket, like peaches, those beautiful peaches you see that
Yeah.
are nicely wrapped, and they sell for what, a
Oh,
thousand
right.
yen a piece or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, we have the contacts for that at a different price. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like we have, there's some great, like, all you can pick and eat at Tabihodai. The blueberry farmer.
Ooh.
You go and you pay it's a reasonable amount of money, and you eat at the same time, and you fill up a basket, and you're like good to go. Same thing with cherries,
Ooh.
like all that stuff. It's great. Um, uh, the restaurants, we've got some really great restaurants in the area that I don't think people, unless they got lucky, would know where to go.
Mhm.
Hiking is phenomenal here. I don't see a lot of bicyclists. And I don't understand why. I mean, it's hilly and it's mountainous, but it's phenomenal. If well, I ride from here about 30 minutes from my place, and I'm in the Minami Alps, which is absolutely stunning with the
Wow.
views. It reminds me of, like, I mean, they call it Minami Alps. It's like it has a kind of a Swiss feel to it. Like, just it's not the height, it's just the I don't know what it is. It's the rice fields and the farms, and then suddenly they just, it's really beautiful. And I don't
Okay.
see a lot of people out here. I think it's just those are the hit to me. Those are the hidden gems.
Okay, that's great. Guess what? We have a question.
Oh, good.
All right. From a listener, how do you envision Japan in 10 to 20 years as it relates to tourism, travel, akiya, etc.? Great question.
Great question. I think both of us can answer that, right? I
Well,
mean, like
you
I can
go
give you,
first.
yeah, I'll go first. But I mean, as I said before, I mean, first of all, I'm not an expert. Really, this is only an opinion, but it's like, this area, is indicative of what's happening all over Japan. It's like, people in their 70s, 80s. You know, I work out in the farm for 3, 4 hours. Like I'll do some weeding or I'll do some whatever I need to prep. I am wiped out afterwards. I am like completely wiped out. These people in their 70s, the farmers in their 70s and 80s working in their fields day in and day out, and they're still able to, I mean, it's like that, man, that's just some serious respect for that. But that's not gonna last long. Like, Reiko and I go, "This place is gonna be really different in 5 years." Really
Mhm.
different. Um, one of the reasons why, I mean, we wanna get this house next door to us is because he's 77, his wife lives in Kawasaki, and they don't really he's here alone mostly, and he can't upkeep it eventually, and we don't want it to just lay dormant and eventually abandoned, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're doing what we can, but I think if the government would somehow, I was talking about Reiko with this the other day, if the government would relax some of those regulations about passing on properties, because I
Mm.
think there's this big hurdle, and it doesn't allow people to buy like akiya abandoned houses easily, and they really need to allow for that, and then somehow promote it, not only for Japanese, but I even for foreigners. But and then with the caveat of like what I said before, learn the language and be kind of be aware of your own biases along the way. But so it's just what the news has been saying too. It's like it's a country that's aging, Immigration is going to change, which has already started to change, as you know. So I don't know what do you, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think those are all valid points. And to address the question about what Japan is going to be like, particularly as it relates to tourism, travel, et cetera, in about 10 or 20 years, nobody really knows, but I think you hit on the high points. Obviously, demography is destiny, right? So where I am in the northern part of Kyushu, same thing is happening, hollowing out. Of course, as you said, the average life expectancy or healthy life expectancy down here is probably just like in Yamanashi in the mountains, pretty good. I mean, people
Hmm.
live to be almost 80 years old and they're pretty healthy. However,
Yep.
we all know that you can't really go too much beyond that without something happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to see that too. More empty properties. Now, where I am, it's in Oita Prefecture, so lots of hot springs. So that's probably a perennial draw. I don't
Mm.
think that's going to really dampen the demand. And we have a lot of overseas visitors, particularly from Korea down here. Direct flights, and now direct flights starting, I think, this month from Taiwan. So we're going to see more and more visitors from other parts of Asia, I think. But you're right. This is going to be a very different country in the future, especially as the population is essentially going to almost be cut in two over the next 60 years, which is hard to imagine. The other thing
Yep.
that's changing, and as fellow quote unquote real Gaijin or Gaikokujin foreigners here, the number of us living in Japan, mostly people from other parts of Asia, is rapidly increasing. So I think we're now about 3.7 million people, and that's about 2.5, less than 3% of the population. But within maybe another 30, 40 years, that could be up to 10% of the entire country. Now, where the two of us are in the countryside, it's not going to be this way probably, but that will be a substantial change for Japan, I think. And some people are not all that interested in seeing that happen, but I think it's still a positive for the country. And as you said, I mean, you're already giving back to the community by teaching English to children. I think that's fantastic. And you're just going to make sure that you're part of the community. And I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Very good. Hey, you know what? We're coming right up at the end of our time, but there is one more question here. So we'll
Mm.
get a quick one. Opinion view of Japan as retirement for U.S. taxpayers. Wow, that's a loaded question here. You want to go first, and I'll answer that too.
I could only go from this is something that just happened last week. So one of the things we're doing as of late is so there's a family that owns an Australian husband and wife's Japanese. They have a couple of kids, so they own a pizza place up the road about 30 minutes in the mountains called Papa's Pizza, which is one of the places we love. We love this place. It's great. So we just recently started something called English Night. So it's like so the
Mhm.
community they can all come as foreigners, Japanese. Everyone comes and we have pizza and we just talk in English, no real format or anything. But I met somebody by the name, his name is Scott from the States. His wife is Japanese. They're toying with the idea of retiring here. Like they're renting a house in down the road and, so for tax purposes, though, so he let go of his permanent residency card, and because the tax rates are higher for him here, and so he basically is living comes back and forth. He's he's got money obviously, so but he comes back and forth every 3 months just so because he has all his money in the U.S. because it's better tax wise. That's one thing, and you can probably add something, but the other thing is I would this is a gr I mean, I don't know about the village. I think the village, but Japan is a great place to grow old. It's just it's Tokyo maybe is okay. It's a little stressful. I mean, it is stressful, but it's really convenient. So if people want to live in the city, it's really convenient, but you pay for the convenience, right? But living out in the countryside is great. It's absolutely great. The healthcare system is, as you know, I don't know, I have just had nothing but great experiences with it. I've had surgery, I've all kinds of things. So it's a great place, but in terms of taxes, maybe not. So whatever else you want to add there.
Yeah, well, that's all. I would say ditto to everything there.
Yeah.
The other thing is, For the person that asked that question, first of all, thank you very much. Hold that thought because guess what? Our next interview with Real Gaijin Ask Me Anything podcast is with a absolute expert on this subject. It's Ben Tanaka, who's in charge of the Retired Japan website. So that's coming up. I'll be publishing an announcement about that shortly, but give us another week or so and we'll come back right at you with that. I can give you perspective too, since I'm an American. And you specifically asked a question about U.S. tax person. That was the actual verbiage. Everything's a trade off. Okay. I have decided, along with my wife, who's also from Japan, that we are going to live here permanently. So I'm semi-retired. I'm like Alan. I'm still working part-time, doing other things, but I like to write, just like Alan. So um, anyway, we've decided we moved out of Tokyo about 6 years ago. Moved to Kyushu. Did live in an akiya for a year while we built a house, but we are here permanently. There are pluses and minuses to do this, especially from a tax point of view. I would have to say, just like Alan echoed, depending upon your age, and I'm still in my 50s, uh, from from health insurance point of view, Japan's fantastic. Okay, absolutely no problem here. The United States is a nightmare, especially if you're trying to be independent and you're not yet eligible for Medicare. So that's one thing. From a tax point of view, the biggest problem for Americans here is that you still are obligated to file taxes in America
Mhm.
after you file taxes in Japan. And Japan's very smart. The requirement is March 15th here, but then after that, you have to file a duplicate return essentially in the United States. Now, the two countries have an arrangement so that you won't be double taxed. Yeah, the rates are generally about the same, a little bit higher in Japan, but overall pretty much the same, and you can get credit. So it's not really a problem, but it's the added paperwork that's a problem. The only other thing I can think of is Japan is really pushing NISA and other national pension schemes. Uh, as an American, you should absolutely not do that because the IRS treats that, at least for now, as a difficult entity and it requires lots of extra paperwork. So it's probably better to invest your money in America and live here. That's what I do. But from a tax point of view, yes, it's a burden. You have to do it. But when you're weighing out all the benefits of living in Japan and the excitement of living in a foreign country with such a great environment, wonderful people, terrific infrastructure, particularly as it relates to healthcare, and a beautiful countryside, I can see living in Tokyo would be beneficial, but I'd really like the countryside too, like Alan. I would strongly recommend retiring here as an American. But we're going to hear all about that subject in about a week and a half ago, or a week and a half in the future. Wonderful. So, Alan, we are right at our time. I hear birds chirping. It looks like a beautiful day up in Yamanashi. What are you going to do today? You gonna do laundry for your guests or what?
Yeah, we did that. I already did laundry. We're just gonna actually relax. I mean, I've got 2 more days off, and I go back on Wednesday, and I may get on my bicycle and go for a little ride, take the dogs for a walk, and this is the country life, the slow life, right?
Yeah, that's right. But there's a lot going on, and plus, the two of us also share a passion for cycling. I don't think I do quite to the same extent as Alan, but it sounds like you've got a lot of hills though, so you're going to get in good
Yeah,
shape.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's painful.
Okay. All right. Well, so thank you everyone for listening in. We had quite a number of listeners here. I think
Good.
oh wow, a lot are still on the call. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I had a lot of fun talking with Alan. I've known him just online for a couple of years now, and now I got to see where he's putting all his passion into, along with Reiko-san. Great ideas.
Yeah.
I am
Thank
going
you.
to follow up with a video recording of this. Give me a couple days here to get that done, and we'll put links into that post as it relates to uh, how, first of all, to make a reservation to go stay at YMH, Kominka Life Japan in Yamanashi. And terrific. So we got some very positive comments. I love that. Yamanashi, says one viewer. Terrific.
Good.
Alan,
There's
I'll
lots
let
of
you
love.
say goodbye to everybody.
Well, thank you so much. Like I just want to say, Mark, thanks for this interview. Like I said, we kind of come full circle, because we wanted to do that one 2.0 Life 2.0 podcast,
Yeah.
but you've taken it and run, and it's great. And I'm really grateful that you asked me to be part of this, or maybe I forced myself on you. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, no, no, no.
But
Well, first of all, thank you for today. And I, for one, am looking forward to being a guest at some
yeah,
point in the future.
please come, and anybody else watching, please come or send me a message if you have any questions. And thanks for listening. It's great, man. It's really great.
Terrific. Okay, well, we'll say goodbye with that. Thank you again, and have a great day or evening
Thank
or
you.
wherever you are.
お疲れ様でした。
Thanks for watching and or listening to another story from the Read My Lips series of podcasts on Real Gaijin. Tell us what you think and be sure to tune in again next time.
Yoo-hoo!